inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him.
What's going on, team? We're back. We got another project that we're going to work on today. We're going to build a power cell for Baby Blue, and the power cells that we're going to run is the excess power Yinlong battery cells. These are the 40 amp hour. They are available at 35, 40, and 45 amp hour. I'm just running the 40 because that's all I need. We will be doing a quad bank, so that's 24 cells. We're going to run parallel series style. I got the bus bars from Ill Customs. I purchased a DC power supply to charge them. Once we get everything balanced and checked, we got the balancer because we will be running a balancer on this. Do you have to run a balancer? No, you don't have to run a balancer. But us base heads, yeah, we try to keep it as matched for cell life as possible, because when we do demos or we do burps, we drain these things. We charge them, we drain them, we charge them, we drain them. So we do use a balancer to try to keep the cells healthy as much as possible. But do you need a balancer? Not really. Depends on the application. I'm going to go ahead and show everybody how to do this. There's millions of videos out there for Yinlong. Just the number one takeaway from this: if you're going to mess with these cells, number one, they are safe, but only to an extent. Hell, a bottle of bleach is safe until you mix it with the wrong stuff, right? So pay attention. I cannot stress enough with these things, because they are lightning bolts in a can. So yes, be very careful with these. Pay attention. Take your time. Pay attention. Pay attention. I cannot stress that enough for what you're doing. Check each individual cell first. The reason why I stress that is because when you're looking at these cells, don't trust the labels on what's what there, because if you go this way and then this way, it's upside down on one side, straight up on another. And these are just wraps. People make mistakes, right? So whenever you're looking at these cells, you want to see a plus, you want to see a minus. Check that. Take a multimeter, touch each end. Put the positive on the positive side, negative on the negative side. And if you're getting a positive read, a plus read of a number, you're good. Again, these are just shrink wraps. You never know. They come from China or whatever. They can mix them up. So if you touch positive and positive, positive to positive here, negative to negative here, and you're getting a negative number, these poles, yes, this is wrong. So pay attention. Mark everything that you're doing. Check your cells for voltage first. Make sure that they're okay. If they are low, tag it. Watch the cell, put it on the outside of your bank, just in case if you have to remove the cell and the cell is bad. But usually they do come depleted, but they'll sit anywhere between 2.2, 2.1. I've seen one that was down to 1.8. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I do have it marked. And again, I'm running a balancer, so I want to balance my batteries first. We'll explain that here in a minute, because I am running a balancer, and you got to get it at least a couple of tenths of a volt away for that balancer to work properly and not burn up, because they only handle and balance out at a couple tenths of a volt to keep everything nice and even. So yes, just be careful of what you're doing. Again, there's many videos out there. Do your homework before you tamper with this stuff. There's videos out there where they cut these things, they puncture these things. They're fine, they're safe. But if you short them out, you are going to have a very bad day. So yes, definitely make sure that you are paying attention to what you're doing. So we're going to work on that. A little, excuse me, a little bit of a sad news for me though. This will probably be the last video for a while. I'm going to try to do my best to get you some kind of content. I do have to have surgery on my right rotator cuff. So I'm going to be down for a while. I'm going to be in a sling for 6 weeks, and the recovery on a surgery like that is no fun. I'm going to be extremely weak on my right side. I am right-handed. I'm not ambidextrous at all. I already have this side. My thumb is all jacked up on this side, so I'm not good there because I already got in a fight with a table saw and lost that battle. Yeah, so sadly, I'm gonna try to get this video pumped out for you, get this cell. You probably ain't gonna see me be able to install it in baby blue. Once it's done, I just want to get the pack together, so that way it's said and done to be ready for spring. So whenever I can work on the truck, if I could work on the truck, I could bring you more content. So let's go ahead and get this project started. I'm going to show you everything that I have, my tools. And again, pay attention when you're working on any kind of battery. You want to make sure it's not on any kind of metal surface, that there ain't no metal else around. Pay attention to your placements of your cells. Don't cross them. So we're going to go ahead and get everything together, guys. First up, what we have here is we're going to have our bus bars, of course. This kit's from Il Customs. They had a good Christmas sale going on. Awesome quality, as you can see, nice and pretty and shiny. So with this kit, it comes with everything that you need. It's going to come with 7 plates total. You're going to have the 2 end plates for positive and negative, and then you're going to have the 5 wide plates. And our next up part is going to be the soldering iron, of course. With solder, the reason why you're going to do soldering for the Heltec balancer, you have to switch the solder switch over from the NCM switch over to the LTO. Which brings me to my next point. If you want a clean solder bead, to take that one off, get yourself a solder sucker. While you're heating up that old bead, it's like a syringe, a reverse syringe. Pretty handy. And then we have a ratchet. Make sure that you have some kind of insulated ratchet. I know there are a lot of ratchets out there are just bare metal. As you can see, what I did with mine is I took large heat shrink tubing, because you definitely don't want to drop anything on top of these cells and short out. Again, safety first. You'll have a bad day if you short something out while you're doing this. Especially the bigger the pack as you're building it, you short it out, yeah, you're going to know. And then we have our little charger unit. That is a nice power charging unit. 30 volts, 10 amp. To charge the pack once it's all said and done. And you want your multimeter, and obviously your wire cutters, and the ends for the wires for your balancer. And also, you do want to use a tube of thread lock. Get the blue kind, not the red. Get the blue kind. Okay, guys. So we're here with our cell. Okay. Again, pay attention. You got your plus, you got your minus. 2.3 volt cell, 40 amp hour. So let's give this a go. Let's check it. But your multimeter makes you are on DC power, not AC. DC power. Okay, so we're going to check our positive and negative on our battery. Make sure that we are reading a positive number. 2.24 volts. Okay. And again, pay attention, because if this is negative, I want to get and this is positive, and the label's okay, we're going to get a positive readout. If it's in the negative, you know that this wrap is wrong. Pay attention to that. That is very important. Okay? So we're healthy here. 2.24, I'm sorry. So that is a healthy cell. So what you want to do is make sure that you do tag them. Put a little bit of tape on it. Write down the voltage. At least that way you know that this is okay. If you got to put a little check mark on it, you know that the positive and negative, the wrap is fine. So we know positive, negative. Now, here's another thing about the Yinlong cells. Pay attention to the ends. Even though there's another sticker down here with the writing, with the positive and the negative, as you can tell, the ends, positive, square in. has a square. Negative, round. Pay attention to that. And also make sure that that's okay as well. Because if you're working in this kind of a style situation instead of sideways, if we're going to be stacking these things, pay attention. Pay attention to the sticker. Pay attention to your ends. Because if you're putting these, again, in series, and you're doing a series parallel, because you're going to be doing positive, positive, positive on a cell on one row, the negatives, and then the next one's going to be the positive to negative, positive, negative, so on and so forth down the line. Pay attention to exactly what you're doing, because if you have positive, positive, negative, bad day, very bad day. Okay, so yep, go through and check all your cells, make sure that the voltage is okay. And if you're going to be doing balancing, I'll show you my method of balancing. There are plenty of methods out there for balancing. I've seen people, again, they'll wrap wire, they'll weave it up and down through the posts to make contact, because you always want to make sure that you got good contact. Protect your threads, don't rough them up. And most of your kits for your bus bars will come with the lugs. They should come with the lugs if you buy them. If not, you might have to go buy your own nuts and everything for it. But I have the Il Custom quad bank, and it gave me everything I need. So we'll go ahead and show that to you here in a moment. But again, pay attention to what you are doing. You do not want a bad day. All right, we'll be right back. Okay guys, here's my setup for how I'm balancing my cells. Again, make sure that your positives are on the positive, negatives is on negative. I'm using heavy gauge braided wire, and I clamped on each side, keep the wire tight, and I left a little bit of cable on the ends, so that way I can measure, once everything is balanced, the final voltage on the end of the clamp there, as you can see. And then I go through and I'm going to check the voltage on each cell. And they should at least be a tenth, let's say a tenth of a volt away from each other. Let them sit for 24 hours. Once you take the cells off the balancing, let them rest for a little bit. The voltage should stay. They should hold pretty good. You might lose about maybe a tenth to 2/10 of a volt, and that's how you would know if the cells are good or not. Because if you have a cell that's draining quick, then you know that there might be a problem with that cell. So take your time with this. Don't get overexcited. Give it some time. 2 days max on this whole project. That's all it should take. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, pay attention. Pay very close attention. So this is the end post, or the end bar, whatever you want to call it. And these are going to be your body bars. So you're going to have 2 of these, you're going to have 5 of these. Whenever we put the pack together, we got to make sure which end is going to be what. So if this is going to be your positive side, and the last end is going to be your negative side. So when you're done, put a little mark here with a Sharpie or something for positive, negative, so you know, because when you get these from Il Customs, they don't mark them, you know what I mean? They keep them clean. And again, you just want to take your time. So we're going to go positive, 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 positive. And on this bar, we're going to go negative, 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 negative. So it's going to sit like this. When you do get these from Il Customs, pay attention when you're putting this pack together as well. You're going to see little screw holes in each plate. Make sure they're all on the same side. These screw holes, if you are going to balance, are for your balancer. Okay, so pay attention to that. So when you're putting the pack together. Also, these are where your lugs are going to go when you feed power out. These are your power lugs. Again, everything comes with this kit. So make sure that this is facing that direction, facing out from the pack when you go to build your pack. Because if you have it this way, you're going to run into some trouble. So pay attention, guys. Take your time, go slow, pay attention. And when you go to put these together, make sure your positive, or whatever end you're going to start first, is matching. You do not want to go positive, 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 negative. Bad day. Very bad day. Go slow, pay attention. So what I recommend you guys doing is on the first set, if this is going to be your positive side, like I'm going to start here, make sure you got your positive. Pay attention to the end too. You know, like I said, the ends. You got the square end for the positive, round end for the negative. And what we'll do is we'll put one cell through, and we'll put a little dab of lock thread, just a little bit, so it doesn't back out. Hand tighten it, take your ratchet, a little tug. Doesn't take, you don't have to crank it down. You don't want to crank it down, because you're going to, if you crank it down for where these sit, if you crank them down too tight, you're going to make the poles split apart. You're going to ruin your cell or strip your threads out. You'll cause damage to the cell. Just a little is it. Just as long as you know it's tight. But yeah, a little dab of thread lock, nut, that's it. Okay, you don't want a split washer in there, because if you put a split washer in there, it's too much pressure for a split washer when it goes to smash it. You don't want to use any kind of washers or anything like that. You just want to use the nut, a little bit of thread lock, I'm sorry, and you'll be fine. So we'll go ahead and start this pack, and we'll show you how it goes from there. But we will start this bar on the positive side. So we got the pack built. Again, when you're putting the nuts onto the threads, hand tight, you know what I mean, until you get the pack built, tighten down everything. I got all my cells positioned the way I want. As you can see here, this is going to be our positive side, this is going to be our negative side. So you go positive to negative, 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 positive to negative. So our pack is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through each one. I'm going to put just a little dab, just a little dab. You don't want to soak the threads. You just want a little dab of blue Loctite, not red. Red Loctite, you'll never get them bolts back off. Go with a little bit of blue Loctite, just a little dab, so that way that these don't back out from vibrations. You know, obviously you're going to be driving around, it's going to be shaking around. Depends on where you put it in the vehicle, you know. And my game plan is when I go to put this in the truck, I want to build a case for it, maybe. They do recommend a case. I want to at least get some kind of Lexon or whatever to protect the top, because you don't want anything to do that. You don't want anything to drop on top of themselves. Bad day if you short that out. That's why I have this guy here. I took a large piece of heat shrink because it was solid metal, you know, and I protected it. So in case if I do drop something on here, the end is not exposed. The only metal piece is around here. I can drop it this way. I got to be very careful. Be very careful. Pay attention to what you're doing. Be safe. If you got to put a soft rag over top of these bars, because you don't want to go from here to here. You go from here to here, you're going to have a bad day. So be careful what you do. You don't want to drop nothing between them two cells. Just, again, safety. I cannot stress that enough. So we're going to go ahead and work on putting a little dab of blue thread lock on, and I'm going to tighten them back down. Again, you don't want to use a drill with your socket. You don't want to do that. You don't want to sit there and crank these things down. No, 7-inch pounds on these cells. So basically, if it's loose, Nice little tug. Just a little hand tight. Make sure it's there. No further. You don't have to crank it. You just tighten them down. Nice and tight. Make sure they're snug. Other than that, that's all you need for these cells. You don't want to go nuts. That's it. Just a nice little pull. All right. So we're going to go ahead and work on getting little dabs of our thread lock on. Another little tip, guys, for you, especially because of the bus bars. If they're the polished bus bars, what I do is I take a little bit of tape and I put that around my socket. So whenever I go to touch the bus bars, let's see if I can get you a little shot here. So whenever I go to do my lugs, the bolts on the bus bars, it doesn't tear up the aluminum. I actually learned from that mistake and I did it again. I want to show you guys on how to torque, and let me see if I can get you a shot of one of the situations that you want to try to avoid. Let's see if we can get that in there. Yeah, there we go. Little rings, the scars, the aluminum. So whenever you put that socket on there, you got to tighten it down, that metal onto the, because you know it's steel or whatever, it creates the little ring. So protect it. I mean, it's, again, these are polished, nice and shiny. So just for a little tip on my part, a little piece of tape there, a little bit of painter's tape around there. So when you go to do it, you're not scarring up as you go to ratchet these things down to tighten them down. You're not scarring the hell out of it and leaving little round rings around where the nuts are. I think you can see it right there. Yep. Yeah, just a little tip there. That's what I do on that. And it wouldn't hurt to actually put a piece of tape around this here. So that way, again, because we don't want to drop this and create a short between these two. Bad day. Here we got the wire harness for the balancer, the Heltec balancer. It comes with it, and it does not come with any ends, so you got to put your ends on. As you can see, I already done put my ends on. Very simple, you know. Like, again, take your time, do it nice and clean. I got the ends off of Amazon. What I do is I take the wire, I strip it off a little bit, I crimp it down, and I take a little butane torch to heat the end of it, and then I put a little dab of solder to solder the end, and then I heat shrink it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get this onto the pack. When you go to do the pack, just follow right in line. There's plenty of videos out there to show you how to do this. I'll even put a diagram that I pulled off of one of my videos that I watched. Very helpful on how to wire this up. So you go from ground and work your way back on the pack. Okay, so you got your ground, next one down, up, down, up, down, up, down until you get to the positive. We'll do that right now. Okay, for the wiring harness, again, got your positive and your ground. Whichever way that you want to work. Again, you have your screw holes for the wiring harness in your bus bar kit. Again, this came from Il Customs, so it already has the holes. So this is my positive side, negative side. So if I was going to start on negative, I would put this black wire here onto the negative. Now my next wire would go in line. So it'd go here, from here to here. Because there's the holes down here. And then this white one, come here. Blue one to here. Green one here. Yellow one to here. And I end with my positive. Just go in line. Even if you went on the positive, reverse it. Yellow, or I'm sorry, red, yellow, green, blue, white, yellow, black. And that's it. There it is. Again, just go down the line. Wherever you're negative, or if you're going to start positive, negative, whatever, just go down the line, back and forth. Negative, yellow, white, blue, green, yellow again, red. Go down the line, back and forth. Boop, 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 boop. That's it. Now the only thing we have to do before we plug in our balancer, again, make sure you change that solder point. Make sure this is changed over to LTO. I'm going to go ahead and get that done now, and then we can plug that in. And again, that's the reason why you want to balance first, because this thing will only handle a couple tenths of a volt difference. So try to get it balanced, all the cells balanced as possible. That's why we do that. But definitely make sure you change that over before you plug this in. Let's go get that done. So what you want to do is you want to get that bead of solder hot. Be very careful, and then use a solder sucker, whatever you want to call it, a little vacuum, solder vacuum. We'll suck it right out of there, get as close as possible. Might have to do it a couple times once the solder's hot. Look at that. First hit. Come on. Sucked it right out of there. Cool, huh? Alright, now we're going to clean off our spot. Now we're going to bridge. And again, make sure that's clean. Make sure there ain't no residuals there. If you got to heat it up a little bit more, maybe try to suck it out one more time. We'll reload. We'll heat it up, especially on this side. Once you get it hot, pop it. That way we know that there is no solder between them 2 points. What do you think? Clean? Cool. Now we got to go from this point here, from the middle, to the LTO side. And this solder has flux in it, so it should be okay. And you don't want to overdo it too much. Slightly dab it until you get a good bead between the two. Move it back and forth. Again, take your time. When you go to solder, make sure you pull away from that other pin. So that way you don't make another joint. Just trying to clean up that little spot there. There we go. Let it dry, cool off. Inspect it. There we go. And that's it. We can plug in our balancer. Alright, there we go. So we got a good bead coming off the center pin of the LTO. Let's check the balancer. Now whenever we go to plug the balancer in to check it, there's a little LED back here. It'll turn orange. If everything is okay, make sure your pins are set right. It goes in with the clip on top. So once we go to plug that in, there we go. Should be good. It'll balance. Alright. So what I'm going to do right now, just right now, is I am going to put the balancer on. I'm going to clip it, and then we're going to go ahead and set this up to charge it. Okay guys, we're ready to charge. There we go. So what I did is I took a lug, put it on there for alligator clips to be able to charge it, because that's what comes with this kit, with that little charger right there. So what you want to do is definitely make sure that these are unplugged first until you get this set. Make sure this is set first before you plug these in, because as long as that output light is not green and that says off, it's off, but don't take the chance, because this is a 30 volt charger, 10 amp. So if this is set too high and you have this plugged in and this accidentally gets bumped, or if it kicks on when you plug this bad boy in, that's not good. So what I did first is I plugged it in, turned it on, I set my voltage, and I set my amperage. The amperage is 10.2 on this. This thing is a 30 volt charger, so again, make sure that this is set. I set mine at 15.2. That is exactly where my alternator charges. And this is going to be a slow charge because it's only 10 amps. There are videos out there that tell you you can charge this thing from anywhere between 14.8 all the way up to 16.8. Check the spreadsheet. Don't take my word for it. Check it just in case, because things do change. I might be wrong. Check that. But since my alternator charges at 15.2, I'm going to let it charge at 15.2 until the cells are full. You don't have to go up to 15.8. You don't have to meet the 16.2 or 16 point whatever. These are like a sponge. It's energy stored in it. So if you charge the cells at that rate, because your alternator charges it, don't go any higher than what your alternator will charge on these. I understand, like a regular battery, it sits at 12.2. It charges at 14.4 or 14.6. This is different technology. You want to charge it up to what your max voltage is for your alternators. If you want to go up higher, you can go up higher. These things will go all the way up to 16.8, but that doesn't mean you have to stay at 16.8. There's people out there who charge at 15.6, 15.8, whatever they set their external regulator on their alternator. Or if it's a self-excited hairpin alternator, like mine is, 15.2 is at charging. So I'm just going to bring this pack up to 15.2. Because that's where my alternator maxes out at. I'm going to max this out at 15.2. If I charge it at 13 point whatever, or 14.4 or 14.6, then my alternator will charge it at it'll see that voltage, and it'll charge it at that voltage. So charge it, set it to where your alternator charges, and you'll be fine. So what we're going to do, so as you can see, there's barely any draw. That draw that you see is coming from there. Again, it's like a parasitic draw. It's turned on, and it pulls about 0.18. So if I start this, because I'm set at 15.2 volts, 10.2, no wattage, because it ain't kicking anything out. Now when I do turn this on, it's going to drop the voltage down to match the pack, the voltage of the pack, until it gets to this threshold of 15.2, and it detects that the batteries are full, and this will automatically shut off. Once this reaches that charge rate of what we set, 15.21 volts, and it hits that 15.21 volts, it shuts off, because that means that it's charged, or it'll sit at 15.2 until the amperage won't take it anymore, and it shuts itself off. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. It's going to turn green, 10.2 amps. There's the amperage. It's charging 10.15, because amperage is being sucked out a little bit because of that. And just let it sit, guys. Again, the pack is at about 14.29. After we built the pack, the voltage is at 14.29, and as you can see, it starts to climb very slowly until it's going to get to that 15.2. And then it'll sit there for a while, and then once it hits that voltage, and this will start to go down. This will start to go down, that number. It'll start to drop until it hits 0, and then it shuts off. So that means that it's fully maxed at that voltage. And then after that, your pack is done. Check your voltage. If it's going to sit for a while and you're not going to put it in anything for a while, let that sit overnight, let it balance, and then unplug it the next day. And we're done. As you can hear, I don't know if you can hear that or not, the fan in the back there, there's a fan back there, turns on, and that voltage will slowly climb overnight. Just let it charge overnight. Once it's charged, unplug the balancer, or unplug the balancer, get everything in, and then plug it back in. Other than that, there's our project. We still got extra cells just in case. There you go, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. I like bringing this kind of content to you. I know that I'm in as you can see, my basement. Okay, I don't have a big studio. So let me know, chat. What do you think of these videos? I can still continue to do videos like this, but again, don't take it just from me. Do your homework. Do your homework. Don't take it just from one guy. This stuff, yeah, different, new technology, but it's awesome technology. It's pretty cool. Back in my day, to get as much power as this, we used to stack 6, 7, 8 batteries. Now it's in a 10-inch wide by 17-inch wide battery pack, and it's crazy how much power these things hold. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit me up in the chat if you have any questions, concerns, queries, want to say hi to me. Let me know. Till next time, we'll see you later.